Hello once again. My name is Michael, and after my initial success with the first quiz, a request has flooded in for a second one. The viewing figures for the first one were a little disappointing until I used the approved government method of the mathematical calculations, which resulted in me having nearly 100,000 views, which was very nice. If you've seen the first quiz, you know it's very simple. There are 50 questions, general knowledge, some easy, some hard. That in the answers to the questions, there is a connection. And tonight, you're looking for 30 answers which are connected throughout the quiz, and they will give you 16 things that form the connection. I'll run through the 50 questions. I'll repeat them all after each question, and then we'll have a short break, during which time you can finalize your answers, and then I will give you the answers and obviously the connection. So your first question of tonight's extravaganza is, with the subtitle "A Tragic Comedy in 2 Acts," which play, first performed in 1953, was described by Irish critic Vivian Mercier as a play in which nothing happens twice. With the subtitle "A Tragic Comedy in 2 Acts," which play, first performed in 1953, was described by the Irish critic Vivian Mercier as a play in which nothing happens twice. Question 2, directed by Powell and Pressburger, which 1946 film was the first to be shown as the Royal Film Performance? Directed by Powell and Pressburger, which 1946 film was the first to be shown as the Royal Film Premiere, or the Royal Film Performance. And question 3, who is the only actor to have received the Best Actor Oscar whilst he was actually presenting the Oscars award ceremony? And as a bit of a clue, that was in 1958 for his role in the film Separate Tables. Which actor is the only one to have received the Best Actor Oscar while he was actually presenting the ceremony? And that was in 1958, and the Oscar was for his performance in Separate Tables. Question 4, in Dickens' Oliver Twist, what is the real name of the Artful Dodger? In Dickens' Oliver Twist, what is the real name of the Artful Dodger? And question 5, which possibly mythical folk hero made his first appearance in a 14th century poem, Piers Plowman, written by William Langland? Which possibly mythical folk hero made his first appearance in a 14th century poem, Piers Plowman, written by William Langland? Question 6, Shaking Stevens had a #1 hit in 1981 with which song, originally a 1954 chart topper for Rosemary Clooney? Shaking Stevens had a #1 hit in 1981 with which song, originally a 1954 chart topper for Rosemary Clooney? Question 7 is another musical question. Who was founder member and lead singer with the band ABC? who was the founder member and the lead singer with the band ABC? Question 8. Julian, aka Cannonball Adderley, was a virtuoso on which instrument? Julian, aka Cannonball Adderley, was a virtuoso on which instrument? And question 9. Edelweiss. Edelweiss is the national flower of which European country? Edelweiss is the national flower of which European country? Question 10. Which #1 song for the Boomtown Rats recounts the real-life story of the teenage student Brenda Spencer? Which #1 song for the Boomtown Rats recounts the real-life story of the teenage student Brenda Spencer? And question 11. Whitstable in Kent and the French town of Cancale are famous for the production of which seafood? Whitstable in Kent and the French town of Cancale are famous for the production of which seafood? Question 12. Which classic American novel, published in 1951, begins, "If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born"? Which classic American novel, first published in 1951, begins, "If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born"? Question 13. In the film, when James Bond asks, "Do you expect me to talk?" which of his adversaries replies, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die"? When in the film, James Bond asks, "Do you expect me to talk?" which of his adversaries replies, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die"? Question 14. Who was the first actor to receive a Best Actor Oscar posthumously? And it was for the film Network in 1976, beg your pardon. Question 15. In motoring terms, what does the acronym SORN, S-O-R-N, stand for? In motoring terms, what does the acronym SORN, S-O-R-N, stand for? And question 16. Sung by Sir Richard Attenborough, the song "I've Never Seen Anything Like It" comes from which 1967 musical comedy film? Sung by Sir Richard Attenborough, the song "I've Never Seen Anything Like It" comes from which 1967 musical comedy film? And question 17. The Waterbury siblings, Roberta, known as Bobby, Phyllis, and Peter, are the central characters of which novel and subsequent film? The Waterbury siblings, Roberta, aka Bobby, Phyllis, and Peter, are the central characters of which novel and subsequent film? Question 18. Which masculine pen name was used by the 19th century French writer Armentine Lucille Auriol Dupin? Which masculine pen name was used by the 19th century French writer Armentine Lucille Aurore Dupin? And 19. Which actress, singer, dancer, and author married Chris Evans in 2001 and the actor Lawrence Fox in 2007? Which actress, singer, dancer, and author married Chris Evans in 2001 and the actor Lawrence Fox in 2007? And question 20. Which American actor and director founded the Sundance Film Festival in Utah in 1976? Which American actor and director founded the Sundance Film Festival in Utah in 1976? '21. What was the title, or what is the title, of the 2003 debut novel of Khalid Hosseini, inspired by an outdoor activity banned by the Afghan Taliban? What is the title of the 2003 debut novel of Khalid Hosseini, inspired by an outdoor activity banned by the Taliban in Afghanistan? 22. Which liqueur is the main alcoholic component of a sidecar? There are actually 3 options here, but there is one main ingredient, but it can have other options. So which liqueur, and that's the clue, is the main alcoholic component of a sidecar cocktail? 23. Which breed of dog takes its name from a character in Sir Walter Scott's novel, Guy Mannering? Which breed of dog takes its name from a character in Sir Walter Scott's novel, Guy Mannering? 24. Who painted Ophelia in 1851? One of the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. Who painted Ophelia in 1852? And question 5. Which US crime drama, first broadcast on September the 26th, 1982, starred David Hasselhoff and his high-tech car, Kit? Which US crime drama, first broadcast on the 26th of September, 1982, starred David Hasselhoff and his high-tech car, Kit? That's question 25, which is normally half time in my quiz, so I'll just have a small drink, if I may. Thank you. Cheers. So, question 26. Which singer-songwriter, who was born in Sheffield, interrupted Michael Jackson's performance of Earth Song at the 1996 Brit Awards by dropping his trousers? Which singer-songwriter born in Sheffield interrupted Michael Jackson's performance of Earth Song at the 1996 Brit Awards by dropping his trousers? Question 27. What is the British Army equivalent to the Royal Navy's Admiral? What is the British Army's equivalent to the Royal Navy's Admiral? And 28. Which novel of 1848 features Becky Sharp and Amelia Sedley. Now, the two main characters, Becky Sharp and Amelia Sedley, in which 1848 classic novel? 29. Temple Meads is a railway station in which British city? Temple Meads is a railway station in which British city? That was question 29. So question 30 will be Adele sang the theme song for which Bond film released in October 2012? Adele sang the theme song for which Bond film released in October 2012? 31. Who was appointed Poet Laureate in 1984 following the death of Sir John Betjeman? Who was appointed Poet Laureate in 1984 following the death of Sir John Betjeman? Question 32. In 1927, the Finnish radio host Markus Raitio first suggested that Father Christmas lived where? In 1927, the Finnish radio host Markus Raitio first suggested that Father Christmas lived where? Question 33. In the RAF, which rank lies between squadron leader and group captain? Question 34. Which reference work ceased publication in 2012 after 244 years of publication? Which reference work ceased publication in 2012 after 244 years? (35) Which physical characteristic do creatures described as palmiped, P-A-L-M-I-P-E-D, palmiped, possess? What physical characteristic do creatures described as palmiped possess? (36) The American TV series How were Fleagle, Drooper, Snork, and Bingo known collectively? An American children's television series How were Fleagle, Drooper, Snork, and Bingo known collectively? Question 38. In the film Cabaret, Joel Grey's character is the Master of Ceremonies at which Berlin establishment? In the film Cabaret, Joel Grey's character is the Master of Ceremonies in which Berlin establishment? (38) Which tablet computer developed by Apple was first released in April 2010? Which tablet computer developed by Apple was first released in April 2010? This is question 39. Which rugby team dropped its Super League name Wildcats and reverted to the original Trinity? Which rugby team dropped its Super League name Wildcats and reverted to the original Trinity? Question 40. What is the English title of Gioacchino Rossini's two-act opera La Gazza Ladra? And I'll spell that. It's L-A-G-A-D-D-Z-A L-A-D-R-A. What is the English title of Gioacchino Rossini's two-act opera La Gazza Ladra? What does that translate into English as? And question 41, costing an estimated £120 billion, what is the most expensive man-made object ever made? With an estimated cost of £120 billion, what is the most expensive man-made object ever produced or ever made? (42) What are the songs Wooden Heart by Elvis Presley, Kites by Simon Dupree and the Big Sound, and Michelle by the Beatles have in common? Those three songs, Wooden Heart, Kites, and Michelle, all have something in common. What is it? (43) In his work, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, who wrote, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything was appeared to man as it is, infinite"? In his work, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, who wrote, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite"? And I think this is question 44. Which is the capital and most populous city of the state of Arkansas? Which is the capital and most populous city of the state of Arkansas? (45) What name is given to the annual college football game in America, played on the 1st of January in Pasadena, California? What name is given to the annual college American football game played on the 1st of January in Pasadena, California? And 46. In which 1999 film does Tom Hanks play the character Paul Edgecombe, a prison officer overseeing executions on death row? In which 1999 film does Tom Hanks play the character Paul Edgecombe, a prison officer overseeing executions on death row? Another film question. Who won the Best Director Oscar for his 1977 film Annie Hall? Who won the Best Director Oscar for his 1977 film Annie Hall? And another Oscar winner. Which actor played Captain Ahab in the 1956 film version of Moby Dick? Actor who was later to win an Oscar for another film, played Captain Ahab in the 1956 film version of Moby Dick. Question 49. Which of the Monty Python team wrote the closing song of Life of Brian? Always look on the bright side of life. Which of the Monty Python team wrote the closing song of Life of Brian? Always look on the bright side of life. And the final question. Known as the Defenestration of Prague, which war was started when two Catholic agents and their secretary were thrown from a third-floor window of Prague Castle? Known as the Defenestration of Prague, which war was started when two Catholic agents and their secretary were thrown from a third-floor window of Prague Castle. That's the final question of the 5th day. I'll give you a few minutes to just finalise your answers and try and work out what the connection is. Don't forget to write down what the connection is. And if you're playing against someone else, identifying the connection is worth an extra 5 points. So it's well worth writing it down. And I'll have another drink if you don't mind. Okay, I'll go through the answers with you. I'll go through them slowly. Question 1, the play described by Vivian Mercier as a play in which nothing happened twice is Beckett's Waiting for Godot. And the film directed by Powell and Pressburger, the first Royal Film Performance, A Matter of Life and Death. And one of the stars of that film is the answer to the next question. David Niven was the actor who received his Best Actor Oscar whilst actually presenting the ceremony. The real name of Dickens' Artful Dodger is Jack Dawkins. Jack Dawkins, and the mythical folk hero who first appeared in Piers Plowman is Robin Hood. And the song, which was a hit for Shakin' Stevens and Rosemary Clooney, This Old House. And the founder member and lead singer with the band ABC is Martin Fry. Cannonball Adderley was a virtuoso of the saxophone. And Edelweiss is the national flower of Austria. Story of the student Brenda Spencer was told in the song I Don't Like Mondays. And Whitstable and Cancale are famous for a production of oysters. And the classic American novel was The Catcher in the Rye. When James Bond asked, "Do you expect me to talk?" it was Goldfinger who said, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." Auric Goldfinger is the answer. The first actor to win a posthumous Best Actor Oscar, as I said, was for the film Network, and it was Peter Finch, the Australian actor. 15, SORN stands for Statutory Off-Road Notification, SORN. the film in which Sir Richard Attenborough sings, I've never seen anything like it, Dr. Dolittle. And the Waterbury siblings are the central characters in The Railway Children. And the masculine pen name used by the 19th century French writer is George Sand. And the lady who married Chris Evans and Lawrence Fox, Billie Piper. The American actor and director who founded the Sundance Festival was Robert Redford. The novel by Khalid Hosseini, The Kite Runner. The liqueur, which is the main ingredient of the sidecar, is Cointreau, although I will accept cognac or Grand Marnier, but it's ideally Cointreau. The breed of dog, taken from Walter Scott's Guy Mannering, is Dandy Dinmont. And Othello was painted in 1852. Ophelia, it was painted by Sir John Everett Millais. And the crime drama starring David Hasselhoff was, of course, Knight Rider. And the singer and songwriter who interrupted Michael Jackson, Jarvis Cocker. British Army's equivalent to the Royal Navy's Admiral is Field Marshal. And the characters Becky Sharp and Amelia Sedley appear in Vanity Fair. Temple Meads is a railway station in Bristol. And Adele sang the theme song to the Bond film Skyfall. And question 31, Philip Larkin was appointed the Poet Laureate after the death of Sir John Betjeman. And the Finnish radio host first suggested that Father Christmas lived in Lapland. In the RAF, the rank that lies between squadron leader and group captain is wing commander. And the publication which ceased after 244 years, sadly, was the Encyclopedia Britannica. Creatures described as palmiped have webbed feet. And the American children's television series, which featured a Fleagle, Drooper, etc., was The Banana Splits. In the film Cabaret, Joel Grey's character was the master of ceremonies at the Kit Kat Club. And the computer tablet developed by Apple was the iPad. And the team which changed its name back to Trinity from Wildcats was, of course, Wakefield Trinity. The English translation of La Gazza Ladra is the thieving magpie. And the most expensive man-made object is, not surprisingly, the International Space Station. And the songs Wooden Heart, Kites, and Michelle all have in common the fact that they have a middle eight which is in a different language. In Wooden Heart it's German, in Kites it's Chinese, and in Michelle it's in French. So they all have a part in the song which is in a different language. And in his work, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, it was William Blake that wrote about the divorce of perception. And the capital of Arkansas is Little Rock. And the name given to the annual college American football game played on January 1st is the Rose Bowl. the film in which Tom Hanks played Paul Edgecombe, The Green Mile. And the person who won the Best Director Oscar for Annie Hall was Woody Allen. And the actor, also an Oscar winner later for To Kill a Mockingbird, was Gregory Peck. And the writer of the song, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life, was Eric Idle. And the defenestration of Prague started the 30 Years' War. So those are the answers to all the questions. I will now give you the connection. And question 4 was Jack Dawkins. 5, Robin. 6 and 7, House Martin. 11 and 12, Oyster Catcher. 13 and 14, Goldfinch. 18 and 19, Sandpiper. 20, 21, Red Kite. 25 and 26, Nightjar. 27 and 28, Field Fair. 30 and 31, Skylark. 32 and 33, Lapwing. 37, 38 and 39, Kitty Wake. 40, Magpie. 44 and 45, Little Owl. 46, 47, 48 and 49, Green Woodpecker. All British birds. That's the end of tonight's quiz. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll try and do another one sometime later. Thank you very much anyway.